Welcome to Penny Bradley, Nachtwaffen Pilot Presents, and today I'm presenting my friend Kevin Estrella. We met at Stargate to the Cosmos conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2018, and he has the most amazing testimony about the ETs that he's encountered, and he has a portrait of one of them over his shoulder in the picture. I believe that's Giroudi. And he's also a fabulous rock musician and has a new album out, and we will be playing one of the cuts out of it during this interview. So, Kevin.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Penny. Glad to be here. Yeah, so I released Echo Cosmic in December 21st, December 21st of last year. And that album, I probably worked on it for about 3 years, putting it together. And there's a lot of stuff that went on into the making of that album. But what's different about it is that a lot of the elements that are in this album are things that have been taught to me from my extraterrestrial teachers, particularly the Ponte. Judy, she's one of the Ponte, but my main teachers are Tini and Thera, and they told me almost 2 years ago in a private Twitter message saying that you realize that music can be communicated on a telepathic wavelength. And I said I had no idea. I didn't understand this. And then she was explaining that music, that images and backstories can be actually entwined telepathically into a song. And she said you're already playing your music at a telepathic level, and we can help you develop it. So I was just completely floored and blown away that this even was possible, but it started to make more sense in regards to my own musical journey when I released my first solo debut album, Pyramids on Mars, back in 2013. And there were some strange things that happened during that period of time, and I realized that I was telepathic, but it took years to kind of put the two together.
I remember being around you right after you realized you were telepathic. That was a bit of a shock to your system.
Yeah, it was.
To folks listening, when you realize you're adult and you suddenly realize you have a skill that you didn't even know you had, and it's been there all along, you're going,
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like, I didn't understand, and I was confused. I was just like, really? What am I doing? So it took more time of self-discovery to become more conscious of that element in my my consciousness when I'm playing, to tap into that higher field. So that was the work that I was doing with Edge of the Black for the last 2 years, to really focus on that intent, and to play whatever the music, to play it with the absolute most passion that I could possibly play, to the depth of the depth of my level of being, to get it on the recorded, so that I knew that what I laid down was the real thing, that was there, and it was very powerful. What came out.
Oh, yeah.
The melodies for Nachtwaffen, that's a huge backstory on its own. But even songs like Arioso Lullaby, which is actually a J.S. Bach piece, but I rearranged it. I played with as much as I could in that song. It's about the emotion of playing fast. I played every single note I learned in that harpsichord piece, note, and then played it to the best, the best possibly way I could, with the deepest emotion that I could. And I really feel I could not do anything better with that song. Like it was I couldn't do any better than that.
Well,
But
I've bought the album. I've heard every piece in it, and I'm just thrilled. So I'm happy we're going to be sharing some of it here. And when you told me that I had permission to use the teaser for the Nachtwaffen song as part of my intro, I was just absolutely tickled. That just made my whole week. So it took me a little while to get it where I have my title in the front, but managed to keep the rest of it pretty much intact.
oh, good. That's great.
Yeah, I even kept the part at the back of it where you can order the album, because the music's so great. Of course, you need a place to be able to order it. So.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that song. The way it came off, it was very different than the other stuff. Other things. Actually, all the songs are different on the album, but Nafwa was very purposeful. I wanted to play a song that was in the style of Rammstein, and the song really came together really nicely. And see, you have to understand, being an instrumental artist, you have to walk a very fine line, because you don't want to write an album that's so technical that you're only going to be getting the attention, looking for the attention of virtuoso guitar players. If you go too far one way, you get labeled as a guitar spam, guitar geek. And then if you go too far the other way, then people are not really sure where you're going, or they'll say, oh, you're not as good as Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, or Yngwie Malmsteen. And I actually, it's kind of funny, because of the way this album is gone, it actually is on that borderline, because people are trying to figure out, what's he doing? Why is he saying that these are his influences? Yet the guitar, the melodies, the main lead guitar is not in your face like Satriani or Malmsteen or Vai. And that's the whole purpose of the album. It's not about the lead guitar in your front of your face. It's about writing a song and then balancing everything out, with everything having a certain, in its right pocket. And some people have criticized, saying that the mix is not good, or that it's muddled, but no, it's just the way it's supposed to be. The lead guitar is not so in your face that you can't hear the rest of the band behind that. And I've actually listened to, some of my favorite, instrumental guys, and that's what I was hearing, was like the lead guitar is so up front of your face, and that the rest of the band is really more in the background for accompaniment. And that's not what it is for me. I'm more influenced by bands like Led Zeppelin, Rush, Tool, and those guys are like power trios, where the guitar is as important as the bass is as the drums. Every element has to come together. Otherwise, if one is not at the same level as the other, actually, great thing to put it, my guitar teacher, the greatest thing he ever told me was, your band is only as strong as your weakest member.
That's a good way to look at it. Now, I grew up listening to the radio, and my dad liked Caruso, and my mom liked what's called honky tonk country. And so when I got into my late teens and started being introduced to progressive rock, that was one of the common themes, was that the band was the ensemble and all of the bits came together.
Yeah.
that no one was actually the star, that everybody was contributing. And I've noticed that in your work, and it's part of what I appreciate about it. Now, did you want to talk about the tonal language at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yep.
Okay. Are we at a point where we can play the song Nachtwaffen?
Sure. Well, actually, let's talk about the tonal language and then play Nachtwaffen, so
That
people
makes
totally
sense.
get what actually is happening in this song.
Okay.
I can actually honestly say that this song is a song that'll probably go down in history, just because of the fact that there is
I lost you.
on the tonal language of the whales and the dolphins. And apparently the whales and dolphins speak a very complex telepathic tonal language. So it's a tonal language, first of all, that's communicating actual messages and meanings in a tonal, it's tones. And it's also telepathic. So it's weaving stories that are visual. And apparently that's a lot of what the whales do, is they're telling visual stories. And they're actually telling stories. And I've actually been given another download, which I haven't even worked on yet, but Teeny said when I'm ready for it, I'll work on it. It's three whales in a pod, and they're singing to each other, and they're telling a story, and one's filling in the other part, and the other one's filling in the other part. So there's the three of them are telling a story simultaneously, and I'm supposed to translate it to make it into music.
That's awesome. I want to hear that when you get it done.
Oh my God! Yeah, once again, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And what the thing is that I said this is pretty much the equivalent of a Bach fugue, and then it all made sense because the Ponte know how much I love J.S. Bach and how much I've always wanted to write a fugue. And then the message came back from Sue from Teeny. Teeny just said, "Be careful what you wish for." So it's like, oh
yeah, be very careful what you wish for.
I did ask for it, so that's why they gave it to me. So Kevin can handle this. I'm like, are you kidding me? So well, that's my homework for this year.
I'll tell you, whenever that I first heard one of the first drafts for Nachtwaffen, you already had the tonal parts so good that it put me back into the spaceship that I had served in, and it was just wow. So
I'm glad.
So let's go ahead and play this.
Let's play it, yeah. Oh, just so people know, the melody in this song is actually saying, "Do you hear me?" Not making this up. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
You could hear it through my speakers, right?
I could a little bit. You'll probably have to review the video when it's all done because it sounded really muffled and cut out a lot. So I'll let you be the judgment on what it sounds like on the final recording.
Okay. I may have to dub the MP3 in.
You may have to dub it in, yeah. But that's okay.
Yeah. I'm learning how to do stuff like that. Yay!
Oh, cool. There you go.
The stuff behind the scenes you have to learn when you do podcasts.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm still jazzed, and every interview you've done about them in all these metal magazines, and you mentioned me, and I was like, oh my God.
Yep. Every metal magazine that's featuring Knopf, and they ask for a write up about it. Can you say something about the song? And yeah, you're in there.
Yeah, I've been reading those, and I go absolutely giddy, like a fangirl. So,
well, doing my part to kind of waken people up to the history that they're not supposed to know. So
yeah. Speaking of the history that they're not supposed to know, you've mentioned the Ponti gave you this download. How about we talk about the Ponti and your connection to them? First, I want to do a shout out to Sue and White Otter Walker, who Sue has been doing the art, and including the portrait behind you there, and my t-shirt, which is Tilcum.
That's Tilcum.
And they have a Twitter account where they telepathically relay messages from the Ponti to humanity. So they're a lot of how we know about them. But you've had up close and personal encounters with them. You want to talk about it?
Much, yeah. Yeah, a lot of up close and personal encounters. I've met with them several times. They visited me, oh God, so many times. And then I started to notice, my waking up in sand in my bed and trying to figure out what the heck, why is there sand in my bed? And then I started to find out that the Ponti were coming and paying me a visit, and we were going places. So because they continuously block all your memories, so you don't remember any of it, which really is frustrating. So
they have to do that though under their treaty with the American government. There's not supposed to be any provable contact.
Okay. Yeah. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm sure
my understanding is that all those treaties are up in this next 5-year time frame. So we may be seeing a lot of star nations that nobody remembers having contact with.
Well, official first contact from the Ponti is next year.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing. I recently did an interview where I thought it was in 2024, and I was definitely corrected by people who in comments. So yes, it's next year in 2021.
Yeah, fall of 2021 is when they plan on it. 32 star nations are involved. So there are a lot of people involved.
Do you know where they're going to be?
Where it's going to be?
Yeah.
They have not had any official disclosure in regards to where it is, but we do have some possibilities of knowing where it's going to be. It could be in Australia.
Well, that's disappointing. I wanted to be able to go.
So, well, Australia is the birthplace of the beginning of the first real, modern humans. So I think it's very appropriate that this official first contact take place somewhere there, because it's not a high military zone, that it could be a safe place. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. I may have to visit my good buddy Kale next year for a Australian visit. So,
I'm not sure they'll give me a passport. I'm considered something of a dissident. So
okay.
we won't go into that there. I've been trying to keep this pretty much political free.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
yeah, but I've been working with the Pontiff for several years now, and they've been, they visited me several times. They've left a lot of evidence of visitations. Everything from my crystals being misplaced in a different place, not quite the way it's supposed to be, because I'm very specific about where they are and they have been touched and moved, to one day I'm practicing my guitar and I look over to the dust that's settled on my TV stand, and I see a handprint, and I look down to try and see the handprint in more detail, and there's only 4 fingers, and the fingers are like 2 inches longer than mine. And I'm going, what the heck? And I tried to put my hand on top of it, and my fingers were just way too wide, and the baby finger was twice as long. If you can see my hand, the baby finger was twice as long as what it is here, and the fingers they're all flat across the top. Okay, so all their fingers match up to the same height, but the picture of the baby finger twice as long as what it is, and then match up how long those fingers are, and that's what the handprint was. Very long fingers, 4 fingers. So that,
I remember seeing photos that you shared of some of these handprints in the dust.
Yeah, I've saved them. I've put them on. I've put them out quite a bit. There was another smaller handprint, another 4-fingered handprint on my banister right next to my where my bed was in my old apartment. So, but that's not the only handprint that I've had in my apartment that's showed up. There was a week where the Ponti were not on Twitter because they had some delegates who were at the Sandia complex, some Star Nation, very important people there, and so they shut down Twitter and were very formal. During that period of time, I was visited, but the visitation was a little bit different. What I discovered was a new handprint on my banister that was only 3 fingers, but these 3 fingers came to very sharp points. So it was almost like a claw that was on there. Very noticeable. I took pictures
of a different Star Nation.
Yeah, it could have been. I'm thinking it's probably maybe reptilian. But then also what I happened to notice was the Monday after the day after that handprint showed up, I was walking by my mirror because I just had a shower, and I happened to notice there was 3 yellow bruise marks on my chest. And I was going, what the heck? And I looked more carefully at it, and it looked like almost like 3 fingers had been pressed into my chest, and I put my fingers and pressed down, and it was a little bit tender. So I don't know I don't know what happened. Honestly, I don't know what happened, or what that all means, but it was just very curious to find a 3-fingered handprint and then a bruise on my chest the following day. So, what goes on, on ships, stays on ships, and I have no idea. I guess I'll find out later on. Okay, what did I say?
What goes on ships stays on ships. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Sometimes you'll remember it later, and sometimes it's gone forever, and sometimes someone else will remember and tell you about it. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of that, someone else telling me about it. And some of the stories people have told me about myself, I'm just shocked.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah. As far as the Ponte, about a year ago, I was having a lot of visits from the particular Ponte known as PETA.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else describes him as this little bundle of energy that can't sit still. And it's really weird because he would be sitting right here next to me, and he'd be about this tall in whatever chair he brought with him. And he would just sit and hold space with me.
Yeah.
Most folks didn't realize that I was actually quite ill at the time. I have pernicious anemia, and I was dying. And I started telling people on Facebook, you know, that I wasn't doing well, so that if something happened to me, that they wouldn't go off half-cocked thinking I had been murdered, because this was an illness. And I actually did die one night and was sent back. And the next day, Peter was here, and I had a bottle of the pills I was taking, and they were pills instead of sublinguals. And he actually brought the bottle and put it in my face and said, no. And then I had a little bit in a bottle. Oh, I love your cognac. and I had a little bit in a bottle that was the right stuff, and he brought the bottle and put it in my face and said, yes. And so I started taking the remainder until payday, when I could buy a new bottle. And I understand he got into a lot of trouble for that, because they're not supposed to interfere. But it really makes me feel bad, because he actually saved my life. You know, if he hadn't done that, I'd still be taking the worthless pills and still be sicker than hell. So I'm grateful to him, and I hope he knows that. So, because I know he got into trouble for it.
I didn't know that.
So they're not supposed to make you afraid, and they're not supposed to interfere in what's happening in your world. So yeah, PETA is very special to me. So
yeah, I got a place in my heart for him too, because he's the first Ponte that actually visited and allowed me to be awake when he was there. I got to see him, so that was really special.
yeah, I see him but don't. It's like I can see him until I look directly at him, and then he's invisible. The conference that we were at, you were giving a presentation about them, and there was a frame that they didn't want you to see.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was up on the screen, and everybody else could see it. And I could see the hands behind your head coming out over your eyes. They had their hands over your eyes so you couldn't see it. And I was sitting there just cracking up.
They blocked the screen on my laptop. It would, I hit the button for that one frame, and the screen came up completely blank and white. And like white, like what the heck?
But it was up on the screen for us. We could
see.
That
that just completely floored me. I found that out afterwards. Like, how was that even physically possible? How do they do that? And then I found, yeah, they found out it was Depp who, basically, there's a portrait of him with holding up his finger, right? And when I went back that night to see Sue and Otter, and then Teeny showed up, and I was asking her what happened with my presentation, and then all of a sudden, both Sue and Otter at the same time said they saw an image of Depp, and it was basically with his finger with the delete button. So it's like, oh. And then I got schooled by Teeny, and she explained to me in a very detail about the image that was up there and where I didn't have all the information to explain the good and the bad of that image. And the image was of the pine cone sculpture in the Vatican. It's a pine cone Vatican. It's a pine cone area of the Vatican, and there's the world's largest pine cone statue made of bronze there. And there's a long explanation about what that actually represents. So they filled in the blanks that I was missing.
Good.
They wanted the positive as well as whatever negative I wanted to say, I could say it, but there's a lot of meaning behind it, and I finally get it. So it was really good. Frisco, yes, you can chew on my thumbnail later. He got really, I don't know, he doesn't often do this. He flew right over here, and he wants to be on TV. So
This is cool.
here, I'll bring him over. He goes, say hi.
Hi, how are you? You're a pretty thing.
Yeah, he's my pal.
Hi.
Say hi, Frisco.
Huh.
There we go.
Yeah, I've had all kinds of critters. Not one of those, but I had parakeets for years.
Okay, yeah.
They're smaller and just as friendly.
Yeah, he's a very friendly guy. And he'll talk to my daughter and my mother, and he'll dance for my son, but he never talks to me. No matter how much I talk to him, he never talks to me. But he likes to bite my toes. So he likes to play games. He doesn't do it to hurt me. He just wants to play games. So he's funny that way. Yeah.
Oh, well, he's beautiful.
And actually, Auntie have visited him too. They've actually gone to visit him, because at my old apartment, I used to put him in the bathroom. That's because that was the darkest place to sleep. And there's a time where they visited, and there would be something that's out of place in my bathroom, and I realized that they went to actually go and visit him and say hi to Frisco. So that's pretty cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the visitations that I've had with the Ponte, I'll tell you some of the crazier stories that I haven't really talked very much about. There was one time I was talking to somebody like we were doing right now on Skype, and all of a sudden I had a speaker and a speaker and a statue thrown off of a shelf that I had there. Like they both just went flying. Like
wow.
if somebody had pressed on the speaker wire and didn't realize they leaned on it, and it just ended up going flying, and then it kind of simultaneously knocked this statue off the wall. And I was trying to figure out what just happened there, because there was no way there's nothing that was there to make it just do that on its own. And I don't have any ghosts in my place. So what I found out, it was actually a trainee who was a little bit clumsy, and I guess maybe they leaned on something that they weren't supposed to, and they knocked everything right off the wall 3 feet from where I was standing. So, yeah, crazy, just crazy.
Sometimes they're more like us than not.
Yeah, and sometimes they're a little bit careless. because like I was afraid that the statue broke, but fortunately it did not. I just told them, guys, can you be a little bit more careful, please? But it really surprised me that all of a sudden I got something go flying off the shelf like that, and the speaker too. It was like, that's nuts. There's no ghosts here, and there wasn't anything. I knocked it. Somebody was here, and they just leaned on it. And then I've also had another visitation with the Ponte that was really, it was really comforting. It was, I've gone through a lot of times in my life where it's been very difficult with my relationships or lack of relationships. And so there was one morning where I had woken up, and then I'm just kind of in that state where I'm half awake, half asleep. Okay. It's a very highly telepathic state. And in these states, I'm actually, my eyes are closed, yet it's like I'm almost awake because I'm there lying in bed with my eyes open. But actually, no, this time it was not. I just remember that I had my eyes closed. I wasn't quite asleep, but I heard movement in my apartment, and it sounded like not two, but it sounded like three people, and they were very, very close. And then all of a sudden, I just felt this calm, gentle hand on my shoulder like this, and just resting on my shoulder like that. And what it was that it was a team. It was one of the all-female crews had stopped, stopped in there. I guess whatever, they must have been working in this area, and they stopped in just to say hello and just to comfort me, And I remember I started to sob. I was sobbing when I felt that hand on my back. It was really, yeah. No, I don't talk about that story a lot. I try and keep my personal Ponte stories to keep them private.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us. Did you want to talk about the conference that you were at, the experience there with the reptilian?
No, not so much. No, actually, I'd probably like to talk a little bit more about about the album and what I've been, what was going on during the writing of Edge of the Black.
Okay.
That's important to, important why this album is as it is. First of all, is like, this, to have an album where your focus is to play at a telepathic level, but then also adding elements of tonal language into the music. That was important. That was the focus of the album. It was the focus of the teachings, and that was actually the inspiration of even the name Edge of the Black. The Ponte came up with the name Edge of the Black. They were the ones. Actually, it was Teeny. It was Teeny. He said, well, it was all of them, but Teeny first talked about it, because the original album name was actually going to be called 432.
For the frequency? For
the frequency, that's right. But then the gang came back and said, what do you think about calling your new album Edge of the Black? Because that's where the music's coming from. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. That's perfect.
That is perfect.
It was perfect. And so, for people who don't understand what the Edge of the Black actually means, it was a phrase that Teeny first talked about, and it was actually Grant Cameron, the famous UFO researcher, has done several seminars and presentations on this same concept of musicians and consciousness and downloads. And these musicians who seem to be getting these musical downloads where the songs are already written, and they're just coming to them in dreams and stuff like that. And there's no effort to the music. And so Grant, he's done a lot of studies on this. He even released a book called Tuned In: The Paranormal World of Music, which is all about this. And he actually was inspired to write this book after reading the book Alien Rock by Michael Luckman, which talks about like dozens and dozens of musicians who have had extraterrestrial contact. And so Michael Luckman wanted to write a book with Grant, but unfortunately Michael Luckman ended up passing away. So the whole thing was shifted to Grant because he was the next most qualified person to continue talking about the subject. Well, it just happens to be that the Ponte taught me about the same concepts of music and what's actually going on, to explain it from their point of view, because they have a bit of a better understanding. So to coin, this is actually the quote that's on the back of my CD as well, if you read it. It says, "Go to the edge of the black of the universe where nothingness and everything exist. Turn around and listen for the next song to be sung to you." What's happening here is that when you let go of your ego and tap into the collective consciousness and tap into the music, become the music is going to write itself, because what you're doing is the music is coming from the collective consciousness first, and then you are then amplifying your emotional and interpretation of it into the new body of work that you are writing. And then you're then amplifying your emotional content and your being into the music, and then you're sending it back out to the universe. This is the flow. This is the understanding. So you're tapping into a much higher consciousness of the universe and everything, oneness, when you are tapping into your music and letting the music write itself. And that's what the edge of the black is. Thus, if you look at the album cover, that is the visual as well of what the album cover is supposed to be. That's supposed to be what, an image of the edge of the black, essentially. So if you look at it, you will see the planet Mars, and then you'll see a pyramid on Mars. And then to the left of the album, you will see galaxies and stars. And then you have this event horizon, this white thing coming up. And then if you look to the right,
Einstein, so it's a little different.
Yeah, and then on the right, inside that event horizon, there's nothingness. It's just black. So that's the edge of the black.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I really like the album concept cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That event horizon is actually taken from a picture of a black hole, and then I just took cut it out to use that part there. That was the best the best thing I could think of to make what would the edge of the black look like. So. But the other cool thing about the edge of the black is, like, a lot of the music I write, I tend to have ideas for songs that are based off of songs things that inspire me. So I'll hear a song from one of my artists that I listen to, and I will want to write a song in the style of that song. The song will influence me, and then I'll want to write a song that's in its style. And then I'll just make a bookmark, in regards to, song in the style of such and such a song in the style of such and such, or this song crossed with this song. And so that's where a lot of my music ends up coming from. So there was one particular song, I can't remember the name of it, but it was off of the live album, Rammstein Live aus Berlin, and that became the foundation for Nachwaffen. So Blood Moon is actually a combination of two Iron Maiden songs. So if you listen to the introduction, the song Moonchild off of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, that is very much the introduction of Blood Moon. And then it transitions into a song, basically it's influenced by the song Somewhere in Time off of the album Somewhere in Time. So that's where the idea for Blood Moon came from, because I heard both of those songs being morphed into one song. So that's pretty cool. The same thing happened with the song Mercury Magnetar. And that song is actually dedicated to Freddie Mercury. That's why I wrote that song.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so what's Mercury Magnetar? Well, a magnetar is actually it's a collapsed star. It's like a dwarf star. What's a collapsed star? I'm trying to think what it's called. Neutron star.
Okay.
Like a neutron star. But a magnetar is a much more magnetized neutron star. So its magnetic field is so powerful that it affects everything for light years away. So it's essentially a dead star that still has a magnetic attraction to everybody else around it. Well, what's Freddie Mercury?
Dead star with a magnetic attraction, yes.
Exactly. That's why I called the song Mercury Magnetar. And so that song is actually it's two songs merged into one. So I took, there's a song by Joe Satriani called Unstoppable Momentum, which is in this 5/4 groove. So I took that song with the same kind of guitar riff, but then I changed the chord progression, and I took the chord progression from the song Radio Gaga by Queen. So it worked out great. It's the same, it's the chord progression, the chords of Radio Gaga to the rhythm style of Unstoppable Momentum. And I think it has worked out beautifully, and it turned itself into a completely brand new song.
Yeah, it turned out gorgeous. Yeah.
And then the two songs, The Ambassador and Arcturian Rain, those two songs were actually written on my new signature guitar. And that guitar is actually designed by Rush. So, and he played that guitar on the album Hold Your Fire and on the tour Show of Hands. So that's going back to the 80s. So I've always wanted that signature guitar since I was 17. It took me 35 years to finally get it. And I finally got that guitar. It took me so long to get it. And then that guitar has such a unique tone to it. It has single coils, first of all, on an electric guitar, which 99% of rock musicians don't play single coil guitars. It's always humbuckers. This is single coils, but they're actually active single coils. So they have a very high output. And the guitar sounds almost like an acoustic guitar on hyperdrive. Beautiful. No guitar sounds anything like it. That guitar wrote those two songs. I didn't write those songs. That guitar wrote those songs essentially. And I've never played in that style before. And the songs came out so awesome, and it sounded so much like Rush. And it was because of that guitar. If I never bought that guitar, those songs would not exist. So it's really cool how the music comes together.
It is. I remember last September when you spent your vacation with us, and you were playing the whole album in its completed form just before you were ready to release it. And it was just so cool. And you even noticed that every time you got to the whale song part that Lou would fall asleep.
Oh yeah.
He still does
put him right to sleep.
He still does that when I play the album.
That's right. That was funny.
So yeah, I hope that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he does.
That was so. Yeah. You guys actually got to hear the demo before it was released.
Yeah, we did. That was cool. So.
And the whale song would come on, and Lou would be right away. He's gone. I'll just leave him.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That was a great trip. That was so much fun.
That was. I don't know. I remember getting sick by whatever they hit me with at Area 51, and I was so sick after that. I just was like, somebody shoot me, please. In fact, you ended up cooking my dinner because I was too wiped out too.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I remember that.
Thank you, by the way. I did appreciate it.
They made you a steak. What did they make you again?
It was a sweet Italian sausage.
Oh, yeah.
Butterfly.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. The butterfly sweet Italian sausage. I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, you did that for me. And then you tossed Lou's hamburgers in with you guys's. Yours and Kale's.
Yes. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So.
And then we watched Iron Skies.
Yeah. What else did we watch? Ragnarok, was it?
What's that?
We watched Ragnarok, I think.
I don't know. I know.
Ragnarok was the Marvel. It was based on the Marvel comics, and it was about some end of the world thing, and everything was destroyed, and then they.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They time traveled to fix it.
Got it. Yeah, that was.
And Smart Hulk came up with the best explanation of time travel I have ever heard, and I'm sitting there going, yes, 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 and everybody else is telling me, shut up, we want to watch the movie.
That wasn't me. Nope, no, it wasn't me. I'm gonna get struck by lightning.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I remember it now.
It was a good movie.
What was it? It was the Avengers. Was it Endgame?
Something. It was one of the Marvel movies about.
It was the Avengers. It was the Avengers. Yeah, I just can't remember.
I don't watch a lot of those. I've got this thing about Hollywood is so corrupt. I don't want to support them. So when I'm with other people that are watching something, I'll watch it, but I'm not gonna put money out for it. And a lot of people in the SSP community have this thing, oh, did you see this movie? Did you see that movie? Because it's soft disclosure. And I'm like, well, no. And they're like, but you have to. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that Hollywood has so much corruption, and the people who have been in it for so long are just so messed up. From what I live in California, and I did spend altogether about a decade living in Southern California, where I was around the Hollywood scene. And those people's lives, they may have money, but that's all they have. They are so messed up as human beings that I just don't want to contribute to that.
Mm. Yeah. I hear you.
So.
Yeah. Money isn't important to me, I'll tell you. That's not why I'm here.
Not why I'm here. I mean, I'm not monetized on YouTube. I don't get paid at conferences. So I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to make sure that the information gets out there to the public, and that the people who are having contact like you are get noticed, and that your stories are told, and that the people who have also been in the SSP, that their stories get told. Because what we've got right now is one website is basically controlling the narrative. And I'm saying, you know, the half dozen guys that you're interviewing on your website are not the whole community. Now, those half dozen guys, I have no problem with them individually. But the concept that one website can be the gatekeeper for everybody, no, that's wrong. We are a community. I was a founding admin. I think I was the first person Tomas added after he started the group, for a support group for people who have memories of serving in space. And at this point, we have 3,300 members. And I know that we're not exclusive. There are lots more out there. And from our group, we've identified 6 factions and close to 1,000 different programs out there. So nobody has a handle on all of it. So that's what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel, is give all of those people a chance to talk, to have a body of testimony, so that 6 months, a year, 10 years from now, this is here. And I'm hoping YouTube doesn't delete it in the meantime.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
this is what I'm hoping to accomplish. And I'm not making any money off of it, and I don't care if I do or not.
Now you have your podcasts still saved somewhere else.
Yeah, they're saved on my computer.
Okay. All right.
So
make sure you access those too.
Yeah. I have a website, and my partner and I are negotiating with each other because he owns the server, and he's been leasing out server space to other people. So my site doesn't have unlimited memory. But we've been talking about backing up my YouTube videos on my website, so that if YouTube does to me like they've done to a lot of people, and just one day you show up and it's gone, that I'll at least still have them somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he and I have been talking about that, but he's currently under treatment for pancreatic cancer. So he's kind of distracted these days.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
So
yeah.
I was blessed that someone who had a server was willing to host me. So
yeah, I'm lucky that my radio show is, it's on the Artist First Network, and they're not going anywhere. And actually, one of the other projects I will eventually have to do is take all of my podcasts and move them onto YouTube as well, onto my channel, to have them on that platform too. So that's another project, But I've actually done over 36 shows now, which really, I was surprised. I didn't realize I had done that many shows. And I do one show per month, so that's like 3 years. 3 years of doing Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio.
That's not bad at all. I've been public since September of 2016, and I've done something like 40 interviews with people, and I started doing these podcasts with people because YouTube said I had to upload something or lose my channel.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, what can I do that's actually useful? And so I went with this. And it's been a learning curve because I had to learn how to edit and put on an intro and get people to come on with me.
Yeah.
And when you're getting started, a lot of people don't want to take a chance on you because they don't know your interview style and they're a bit afraid. And so I'm trying to be a situation of these are friends talking and sharing their experiences and getting a more comfortable vibe going where that people can share rather than feeling that confrontational interviewer thing.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
And I'll give you the link when it's uploaded.
Okay, great. Yeah. And everyone, if you want to check out Edge of the Black, go to pyramidsonmars.com. And there's a link right there so you can check out the album. Have all my albums, they're on sale at Bandcamp. That's the best place to buy. But if you're also looking for other digital platforms, it's also there on YouTube or iTunes and all that kind of stuff too. So it's everywhere. But I'm officially promoting Bandcamp.
Oh, he's just having a blast.
Well, he's just feathering himself and lifting his whip.
Well, I'm going to tell you goodbye. And it's been very nice meeting you. So.
Say bye, Frisco.
Bye, Frisco.